When I give you whistle, every say prrrr, prrrr. When I give you whistle, man, you say prrrr.
We are welcome back to Prrrr, and I'm Kelvin, and today we come talk about various modification in the modern football, how football positions evolve from back in the time to now, how every position you get variations. So we go start from the goalkeeper, then go up to the striker. We go do the history of goalkeepers, history of defenders, history of midfielders, then we do history of wingers and also history of strikers to show how then they play compared to how they play back then, because history is mankind's greatest invention. So I will start plus the goalkeepers. So with the goalkeepers, first in the 1800s up to 1930s, then they call them line goalkeepers. Line goalkeepers or shot stoppers. They know they do anything than just block the balls. They know they pass, they know they do plenty handling of the ball. Then just go clear the ball, make the other outfield players, make them play the ball very well. So the goalkeeper, starting from here, was just on the line always. They go forward. They cover the entire 18-yard box safe. He just go there the line top, then clear balls. Then we moved on to the 1940s to the 1960s. That when then we would call some goalkeepers the commander goalkeepers. As like football they evolve, where some teams they play only defensive systems, then some goalkeepers for control them a back line. First, they know they control them a back line. Now the commander goalkeepers, then they control the back line. Then they talk plus them to know how they go arrange them a body. Then also then this one too, then can handle the ball as well. They can catch. They were not just blocking shots. Then they catch the ball too as well. That when the commanding goalkeepers came about. Example would be Lev Yashin. Lev Yashin of the Soviet Union. He's the only goalkeeper to have won the Ballon d'Or. He was known as a commander goalkeeper. He was able to command his back line, tell them what to do, and also he was handling the ball in some few situations. Then we'll move on to another era where 1970s to the 1980s, era where the Netherlands football, or let me say the Dutch football, was dominating a lot. We had sweeper goalkeepers because of the pressing, the fluidity provided by this kind of football. Then for adapt, some goalkeepers for adapt. So then just go come forward. This one, they know they do like the way Ederson them they do. Then go come forward small just to clear long balls. Some teams go play long balls behind of the attacking team, them at defense. So see the goalkeeper will come forward, then come and clear long balls. And also they attach some bit of ball handling and also, but they play the ball. Don't really play, just they clear long balls. He's not part of build-up play. He's not part of anything at all. Then we go move on to you see in 1992, right? In 1992, there was a rule made by FIFA to prevent back passes. You see, right now, if a player passes back to the goalkeeper, where the goalkeeper handle him, it be foul. So that foul will be played as an indirect free kick wherever that foul was made. So the 1992 backward pass FIFA rule also changed the game a bit. Goalkeepers were trying to play the ball now, because if your player passes back to you and you catch it, it's an indirect free kick against your team. So you now, if you play the ball plus your leg, if them pass give you, that way we can get some goalkeepers like Edwin van der Sar. We also get Peter Schmeichel. Peter Schmeichel, then he was known for his long throws. He get long throws. If you throw the ball go inside that, it check like some goalkeepers long ball for a striker to knock on. So those kind of players evolved like in the 1992 era. Then we move on to the 1990s to the 2010s, like 2000. That when we like modernization come a bit. We get players like Buffon. We get keepers like Iker Casillas. Then be shot stoppers do, but them add more to them again. Then they play the ball much, but they were saving balls. Like they were, let me say, complete goalkeepers. There were other variations. You see, the goalkeepers were trying to do almost everything, but no more of the passing. They were doing everything that a goalkeeper needs to do in that modern era. Way before we come to an era where we can't get Manon Neuer like the 2010s. Manon Neuer, he be super goalkeeper, the modern super goalkeeper, Manon Neuer. You can't get players like Ter Stegen. He was like he will be ball playing goalkeeper. He did add up to the defense as like an extra centre back. Then he go play the ball. This is how the goalkeeper position evolved throughout the years. Now we're moving on to the defenders. Now I don't know if you've heard of the 2-3-5 pyramid formation. The 2-3-5 pyramid formation was made in the 18th century, no 19th century, the 1800s up to 1930s. That's when the pyramid formation, the 2-3-5 formation. And this system, the two defenders were known as the fullbacks. Those playing as the central defenders, they were known as fullbacks because not because of the fullbacks we know right now. It's because they were the only two players that will stay at the back, will not go forward, were not part of any attacking duty, they were not part of any wide duty. Then just go day the back like this one. These two players are called the fullbacks. They then they defend, give the teams. Where the other players, you get the midfielders, the wingers, inside forwards, and the strikers. This ones then be fullbacks. This is how defenders were earlier on in the pyramid formation. So in this system, it changed, it evolved, going into 1940s and 1950s and 1960s. This system changed because right ahead of these two fullbacks, there were three halves. They were called center halves. These players, they were known as midfielders. They rather evolved to become center backs. They were called halfbacks. So earlier, one of the halfbacks will drop inside. You will come join the two fullbacks. Then you go make a back three system. Then this halfback where you can't join the defense now. Then they call him the sweeper. The sweeper. He go there, the defenders them are back, then he go sweep the ball. A player where he was really known for this was Franz Beckenbauer, the late Franz Beckenbauer. He go there, the defenders them are back, then go give him free roll, known as libero as well. Libero, he get free roll for the back line side. He go free move anywhere. Just say he go there the back. He get freedom small. He go there, the defenders them are back. That be when we call them the libero. But these two halfbacks, they all moved back to the back line where he left only the number 6 for there as the football evolved. So this system became prominent in the 1950s. No, 1950s. The Brazilian team, right? The Brazilian team, after losing the World Cup, they developed a 4-back system. Right after this super system, they developed the 4-back system to help solidify the team. That's when the 4-4-2 formation became very prominent. So them changed them to 4-4-2, where one of the halfbacks, like I said earlier, he will come join the defenders for a year. But this one, they were nothing like fullback. Then it was flat back line. It was a flat back line like this. Flat back line like this. Then these fullbacks, they were no overlapping. They were just flat. They were just supporting the entire back line. Then he can't make 4-4-2. Can't make 4-4-2 like this. Just to give solidarity. Just to give defensive solidarity. Then it became this 4-4-2 formation. But the Italian system, the Catenaccio, in 1960s, Heleno Herrera introduced the 5-back system. The 5-back system. So where we had the sweeper, the two defenders. He also called one of the wingers to become wing backs. So it became a 5-back system where they became very defensively resolute. Then go compact the defenders. Where get space play. That where through the 1960s, that where we can't get that the goalkeepers will then be commanding goalkeepers also throughout that era. Then we go move on to fullbacks. So like I said, in the 1800s, then we get 2-3-5 system, the pyramid formation. It is true that all the formations were birthed. So the 2-3-5 formation into then I already said that the fullbacks, then they were the only two defenders at the back. They were not doing any offensive duties, then just did the back, just to shield the team. Then they shield the goalkeeper too as well. So fullbacks became fullbacks when the halfbacks started drop into the defense. As the halfbacks they drop into the defense, where he left the number 6. That when the fullbacks started becoming prominent. They became relevant a bit because there were only 2 remaining players in the middle at some point when they started doing the 4-back. the only two players in the middle. Like the one was defensive and also one was very creative. But we'll get there because it's where the midfielders will be. Now I'm talking about fullbacks. So with the fullbacks, earlier they were like flat. Like I said, they were flat. They were not going forward. They were just marking wingers, dangerous wingers. They put them there to just mark wingers to prevent opposition from getting into their own house. That was just their job. Now, as the sport progressed, like the Netherlands in the 1970s to the 1980s, that's when they started to modernize the game a bit. That's when they started to make one of fullbacks overlap, make the fullbacks join attacks more, make them give weight in the defense, make them give weight in the attack. That's where the fullbacks can make very, very prominent. Then you will see very fluent football. That when like them specialize them body. There was a player called Carlos Alberto. He was a Brazilian. Carlos Alberto. He was like a very attacking fullback where he can make popular. He can make the fullback position can make a bit more attacking. Like he was the pace setter. Up to this modern era where we have in the 1990s up to date. That where like we can get so many variations of the fullbacks. Now I can comfortably speak of inverted fullbacks. I can speak of defensive fullbacks. Defensive fullback, I would say, some would say Kundi, but not entirely. This season he has changed a bit. But back then there were defensive fullbacks just doing defensive work. They were not going inside. They were just staying at the back. Then we also have fullbacks that they were not fully inverted, but they were also attacking, like Philip Lahm. Philip Lahm for Bayern, yes, under Pep Guardiola. He started that inverted fullback, inverting Philip Lahm into the midfield to just create midfield depth. Some of them would say Zinchenko, but others would classify him as a central midfielder when he moved inside. That's how fullbacks have evolved nowadays. Now, talking about moving on from the fullbacks, we'll be going on to the midfielders. Like I said, in the pyramid formation, the midfielders were three, the center halves. They were called halfbacks. They were called halfbacks. So this is how it looked like. So this is how they look like. So I said, as the years progressed, the halfback were dropping into the defense one by one, remaining the number 6, and also sometimes the number 8 as well. So the number 6, as the defenders joined those at the back, I was left with the number 6 and sometimes the number 8 as well. The number 8 as well. So we start with midfielders, the 3-5-2 formation. Midfielders were left with one defensive midfielder, one that was like would just show the defense, was not going forward, and one that was a bit creative. Some would say box to box. Example would be Lothar Matthäus. He was occupying both areas. He was occupying. The reason why they say box to box, then they occupy their own box. Then also they go occupy the opposition their own box. That's why then they call them box to box. Those kind of players. Lothar Matthäus was very popular because of that style of play. Then we move on to the midfielders also became specialized in the 1970s and also in the 1980s. Because of this, like I said, the Dutch football became a bit fluid. Football became positional based. Football became something that players were not stuck to one position. That's when the specialization came. So this specialization, I will talk about a few of them. We talk about the number 6. The number 6 was also, let's say, the register. Some people will say a register is someone who controls the tempo of the game, sits back and creates chances for the players up front. A typical example would be Andre Pirlo. He was a deep line playmaker. Then they call him the register. Then we have another type of midfielder where we call them the box-to-box midfielders. So the box-to-box midfielders, then they do defensive work, some they do attacking duties. They will move from the midfield, go up and down. Some contribute attacking, while some don't. They just go there to create some chances for them team. Then they give the midfield weight. Then they give them depth a bit. That's when they call them. In some things like the Italian team, they call them the mezzales. Mezzala, but I'll come to that. It's not entirely what you think, but I'll come to the Mezzala as well. So we also have the number 8 sometimes were called the box to box midfielders. Number 6 was the defensive midfielders, and then we have the number 10s, the typical attacking midfielders like Zinedine Zidane. They were in charge of linking the midfield with the attack. They provide chances, they create chances. They also sometimes get in on goal. Like we have Pavel Nedved. Maradona himself was also a typical number 10. So in some cases, the German football, they refer to Thomas Müller as a Raumdeuter. No, he is a number 10 originally. A Raumdeuter is just to describe the role he does. So it's like they say on spaces. He knows where to be and where to find his striker, where to find his other teammates, where to position himself so that he'll be an anchor, he'll be a reference point for the other players. That's when we call them the Raumdeuter. It's a German word, the Raumdeuter. Thomas Müller was popularly known as the Raumdeuter. They also have the Trequartista. It's also another name for the number 10, the Trequartista. So when you divide the pitch into 4, the Trequartista takes one fourth of it. It's like when you divide it into 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you divide the opposition's half into 2, the first half of it is where the Trequartista operates. He's given more of a free role to operate over there, to create chances, link the defenders, the midfielders to the attack. Those are like the very variations of midfielders. And then you come to the Mezzala. So the Mezzala is like player that is not a winger. He's neither a central midfielder. He operates in the space where it's between the central midfield and also the wing area. That's why the Italians call it the Mezzala. They operate in the half spaces as well. Then they link play, then they go forward. Sometimes then they come back. You can speak of Fede Valverde. Fede Valverde is a typical Mezzala during Carlo Ancelotti's Champions League winning season recently, where they played a 4-4-2 diamond. So Fede Valverde would operate in the central area. Sometimes it's limited. Then you operate more on the wide areas, especially when they are defending or when they are in attack or when Rodrigo was going wide more often. So we're moving on to the wingers. So the wingers as well, like I've been saying, the football evolves from the 2-3-5 formation, the 2-3-5 pyramid formation, where we have 2 fullbacks, 3 halfbacks, and we also had wingers that were attacking the line. They were hugging the sideline. Then we had a striker and 2 attacking midfielders or inside forwards. So first, then wingers were on the flanks. They were hugging the touchline. Their job there was to create weight. Majority of the work there was to create weight. Then they pass, then they assist. Then they are not involved in any goal scoring opportunities. Their job is primarily to cross, provide weight, take on the opposition fullbacks and cross it to the players that will be found in the box or located in the box as and when the game is going on. That's how hitherto in the 1800s up to the 1930s, that'll be how then the wingers they play. Then as they move on to Johan Cruyff Dema era, the 1970s, 1980s Dema time, that's when we try specialize into the wingers. But before that, in the 1940s up to the 1960s, that's where we can get like 4-4-2-2-2. Some of them started playing 4-2-3-1. Some of them started playing the 4-3-3 system. Then we get players like that when we get then say the golden age of wingers. A player like Garrincha for Brazil, he was like typical winger. Then he did take on players. That be when we can get golden age of wingers. Before we moved on to Johan Cruyff Dema time in the 1970s up to the 1980s, then we start give me for the wingers different rules. Like we started with inverted wingers. Some would say inside forwards, although they are different. Then we can get players like David Beckham Dema time in the 1990s. David Beckham, we also get Luis Figo. Then just did the wide areas. Their job was just to cross. We had Ryan Giggs as well. But Ryan Giggs Dema time, Ryan Giggs was left-footed. He was changed a bit. So I'll come to that. but Luis Figo and David Beckham, them are era, then wingers were playing like the right-footed winger will play on the right wing, the left-footed winger will play on the left wing, then just go fly the ball, give the strikers, and also the inside forwards as well. That's where that's how wingers evolved. Then modern era, we can't get left-footed players playing on the right wing, right-footed players playing on the left wing, because if you are a right-footed player in the modern era, you are playing on the right wing, you are limited because the sideline is also a defensive. It's a second defender as well. Because if someone pushes you to the sideline, the only option you have is to go forward and cross. So that time is very predictable. But when you have your left-footed player on the right wing, it's unpredictable. He can cut in, he can go narrow, he can go wide. You don't know what he'll do. So he can unbalance the fullback easily. It's very unpredictable. That's how they can get players like Mo Salah. He was more involved in goals, even more than some strikers. So we can't get inside forwards. Then they go inside, they become inverted. Like Cristiano Ronaldo, them at time, he was joining the striker sometimes, although he was a winger. So that's how wingers have evolved throughout the years. Then we can't get strikers. The strikers, some will say in this 2-3-5 system, then the strikers were just one who was mainly in charge of the attacking duties. But it can evolve where you can get so many variations of strikers. So I just go summarize them into the various type of strikers that will end it there. So the strikers, you can't get false nine. False nine, he drops into the middle and also attracts the opposition, them are defenders. Then follow him, he go create space, give the inside or inverted wingers. Then they will get chance score. We can't get the target man. Target man like Erling Haaland, the typical game, if you want to know how a target man plays, go and watch Arsenal versus Manchester City like 2 years ago, where they beat Arsenal 3-1. They beat Arsenal 3-1, and Thomas Partey was criticized a lot in that game. Erling Haaland played as a typical target man. He would just knock the ball to him, and you pass to Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne makes the run and goes to score. Then we can't get complete strikers like Luis Suarez. Then they play the ball some, then they dribble, then they shoot, and then also they assist. That's a complete striker. There's also a second striker, Antoine Griezmann. He support the strikers a bit when they are attacking. There's so many strikers. It depends on the formation. Now, you can't even really pinpoint or name exactly a specific position because of the way formations are changing. Systems, they change day in, day out. So you don't really pinpoint or name a particular role. It depends on the coach. We've tried to name them, but some of them can be inaccurate because when they start the game and when they are ending, you notice some differences in how they play. It's just, these names are just to describe the roles they've played. So this, if I'm to talk about it, it will take more than an hour. That's why I've chosen to just summarize it a bit. If you want more details, you can go and read on them. These are just highlights I've given you. You can go and read on it. There's a long history of football variations, football modifications. The football has evolved. I just wanted to make you guys aware of some of the terms that we've been using over here. So I've been Kelvin, and I'll see you next time.